Hi, this is Ivana, and today I will talk to you about dodging and burning in Lightroom. If you're not familiar with dodging and burning, it's a technique of brightening up the highlights and darkening the shadows to achieve a more three-dimensional look. And I used to do that in Photoshop, and a lot of you probably you learned or tried that in Photoshop. But some time ago, Lightroom made some changes, made it possible to make it look, make it work really, really good just in Lightroom. So without having to go to Photoshop, you can use that technique. I will show you that on this photo here. It's a great one because it really shows you can make those dresses of the girls look really three-dimensional and really popping out from the background. Let's zoom in, and we're going to work with a brush. So a few words about using brush. First of all, every time you're using a brush, double click on the effect to move all the sliders to the center and to see only zeros here. That means that it's a clean brush. It doesn't do anything to your photo at the moment. But it's good because you're not adding anything accidentally to your photo. And the other thing is that I recommend setting your flow to around 50 and density to 100 to use that when using that technique. And let's move the slider, exposure slider down. So which means right now we're darkening. And let's paint over here where we can see the dress like going inwards, going back, like being a little further from us. I'm going to paint over here. And just to show you what it does, I'm going to paint here where it's very, very bright. So we'll see what's going on over here. So actually what it means to dodge and burn, just to paint the darker parts of the photo, and usually those things that are out further away from us. So if you were using that on the face, you probably you would paint on the neck, on the parts of the face which are a little further from you, and you would paint white, so like brighter, on the parts of the face which were a little closer to you. At this moment we are just using that on skirts. I think that using basically dodging and burning on the faces is a little more complicated and it requires a little more skill. Right, so I just painted a little, and I wasn't very precise doing that. I was actually doing that with a mouse. I usually use my pen tablet, but in this case I had to use a mouse. So I wasn't very, very precise. But the thing with Lightroom is that we have something called range mask, and range mask will take that filter and apply it only where we want this to be applied. So in this case, because I was darkening, I want to darken only the shadows. So we can use a range mask in luminance mode. Luminance means that it's going to show that filter depending on the brightness of the photo. I'm going to click show in luminance mask, and this is going to show where I painted. So you can see where I painted with red, but you can also see the whole image in black and white, which tells you a little more about where it was actually dark and where it was very bright. So I just painted a dot over here, and if you remember, I also painted a little over here, just to show you what's going on. And right now we have range, so we have to kind of limit the range of that mask to only have it on where the shadows are. That range slider works a little like histogram. So if you think about histogram, on the left side of the histogram there are blacks, then we have shadows, exposure, highlights, and whites on the right side. So starting from left, it starts with the darkest parts. So if you want to limit that only to the darkest parts, you have to take it off the brightest parts. So right now I'm moving the range slider down, you can see how this red color is being removed first from the bright parts. And if I move it all the way back, right now it's removing that from the midtones. And if I move it all the way down, it's right now it's limiting to only the darkest of the shadows. Right now you can see the line over here. If I move the smoothness slider down, it's going to show a very harsh line of the filter. If I move the smoothness up, it's going to show a very smooth line of the filter. So depending on what you want to do, you can either move the smoothness up or down. I personally, most of the time, I use it the smoothness a little up, so a little above 50. But from time to time, I want to have this really, really sharp line in kind of special task or special places. Then I can move it a little down. We can click the luminance mask off, and then we can go back to the exposure slider. And if you want to have a little more of that effect, you can move the exposure slider up or down, down or up if you want to have a little more of that effect. The important part is that it's still minus, so we don't move it up so it starts being plus right now, because you are actually killing the shadow. You want this shadow to be a little more, a little deeper, so you don't want to brighten the shadow. And because we just burned the shadows, we want to dodge the highlights, so we'll create a new slider. It's very important to click new right now to create a new slider instead of editing the previous one. And we'll add some exposure. Right now we have a plus number here, and we have to paint wherever the skirt kind of goes towards us, so it's a little closer, or where you can see a highlight, like here on just on the edge of the girl. And I'm going to paint over here just to show you how that range mask is going to work. And again, I'm not being very precise, I'm just painting more or less in those spots where it was a little brighter. All right, and then we have to go to move this slider down to go to range mask, luminance. I'm going to do the same thing as previously, but this time I'm going to take this off the shadows, so I need to move the slider right. And again, we can click show luminance mask to see where that filter is. And it's right now I'm not moving it all the way up, because those where I was painting was not actually shadows, those were midtones, so I can't take it all the way up because that filter will not be visible at all. Right, and again we can move the slider smoothness slider up, so we have a little smoother transitions between those that highlights and shadows. Okay, I'm gonna paint a little more and turn off the luminance mask, and you can move the slider up and down to see if you like the effect or not. You can make it a little less visible by moving the slider down to closer to 0, or you can move it a little up to have that highlight a little brighter. So let's see the before and after. I'm going to click backslash button on my keyboard to show you how it changed, so you can see how that dress became more three-dimensional. And if you apply that to your photo, it's going to add more of that depth, but at the same time you have to be more careful, because at some point it becomes a little too fake or a little like cartoonish look. Of course, if you like that look, that's fine. And if you want to know how I use attachment burning in my work, you can go to my website iwonapodlasińska.com, and you will find there under for photographers, you will find tutorials as single videos or as collections. So collections are those single videos packed into bundles, so you can buy like a pack of videos at once and save some money. And also, I have a great workshop for you, which is called Light and Story, where you will learn not only how I edit my photos, but also how I take them. So everything about my settings, about light, composition, color, and everything I know about photographing children, it's all there. So go to my website and check it out. And I hope that you will like it. And I hope that you like the video and that's going to be useful for you in the future. If you have any questions, just put there in the comments. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you next time. Bye.